Welcome back to Emotional Mojo. We've been challenging you all day to break bad habits. We all have some we'd like to break, and we've mentioned emotional bad habits. So joining us is the lady who turns obstacles into opportunities and helps you get over those emotional obstacles. Welcome, renowned life coach, Dr. Stacia Pierce. Welcome back to our show.
Well, welcome. Glad to be here today.
Yeah, you're the perfect person for our challenge, but let's lay out, I know we mentioned it earlier in the show, but what are emotional bad habits?
Emotional bad habits really are just negative habits that people have that can cause depression. It causes fear a lot of time. It causes them to stumble in life, and really it holds them back from accomplishing their dreams. And so that's the biggest thing, is that if people don't break these habits, they know they have them. Like we even heard earlier today, people know they have the habit, but if they don't break the habit, then they feel like they can't go forward.
Absolutely. And you've built a platform around this idea, and we're going to lay out some of the emotional bad habits that both men and women face. And the first one you say is backing away from confrontation. Why is this a bad habit?
It's a bad habit because you have people that won't speak up for themselves. And so, like, for instance, I had a client, and this just happened, and they were in meetings all the time, and every single time they get into a meeting, she would come up with these amazing ideas. So she said when the boss would come in and ask about the idea, her coworker would always take credit for the idea. Well, she came to me for help because after about 4 or 5 months of this, there's resentment. She's angry. Now she's not doing her job well anymore. Now her boss is taking all that out on her. She's about to lose her job, and she's the one coming up with all the good ideas.
But she's afraid
of confronting.
So, do you guys agree that this is a big challenge you see with clients?
I do. I do. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I think that you have to step up and speak up for yourself. Otherwise, it does get down into the emotions.
Yeah,
it does.
Another thing you say we have as a bad emotional habit is worrying about what other people think of us.
My goodness, that is
We
so...
all do that.
Yeah, we do. We do, but you know, you have to just say, you know what, I'm gonna stop worrying what people think, because, like, for instance, another example is a speaker, a person who could speak so well, a tremendous speaker, but they would not get on the stage and speak because they were worried about what the audience thought.
Yeah.
And so I gave them a technique. I said, you know what, this is what I want you to do. Visualize yourself on that stage. Visualize you finishing the speech, everybody loving it, and then when you walk away, you could care less what people think.
I mean, athletes do that. They, you know,
They
Michael
do.
Jordan used to visualize
Visualize.
making his, you know, baskets. Guilt. Lots of us have this. I think especially moms too tend to have some guilt
yeah.
here. What kind of guilt are we talking about?
Well, guilt can be, I mean, it can be as big as, like you say, a mom. It can be, you know, I'm not doing everything for my kids, or, you know, I can't show up to every single game, or sometimes it's paralyzing you because there are things you shouldn't do. Like, for instance, I had a mom who said, you know, I can't, every time my kids ask me something, I can't be there for them, I can't give them everything. And so what I told her to do, I said, you know what, make a list in your journal of your values on this side, what you feel guilty of on this side.
I like that.
And I said, and find out if what you value. You value them having good grades. You value spending time with them. Well, you can't feel guilty every time that you can't say yes to them for a toy.
I like that.
Right.
And I think sometimes it sounds funny for a life coach to say this, but you have to lower your expectations.
Yeah.
That's so
Some women
brilliant.
wake up and they're trying to accomplish too much.
Of yourself,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
Learn the word no.
Bring it down and get more realistic.
Great. I love that.
Negative internal voices. This is the last emotional bad habit that a lot of us have.
Internal voices. There are voices that say, I can't. There are voices that say, you know, especially with women, we struggle with this. Okay, oh my goodness, I'm too fat. Or I'm never going to be able to do this. And so what I say is put a but after that negative internal voice.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is, okay, I can't do this, I'm fat, but I'm a lean exercising machine right now, so in a few months, I'll be slim.
Right.
Or,
I love that.
you know,
I love that.
I don't have the knowledge for it, but I'm going to go to the bookstore and get the information I need so I can succeed. So you have to silence that inner critic with an affirmation. You have to speak back to
That
those
away.
negative
And
voices.
as she's saying is you have to renew your mind, right?
Yeah.
Because your mindset creates your mood set.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And let me just say this, she is phenomenal at what she
yes.
does. People love her all over the world.
Yeah, that's why
right.
we wanted you here, right? So let's say we break this habit, whatever we figure out that it is. What's the one mistake people make I hate to use the word relapse, but in relapsing, picking up that habit again?
Well, what they do is rehearse it. And so we usually go back and rehearse something that went wrong. We rehearse our negatives. We rehearse what we did bad. And when you're rehearsing it, you can't move forward.
Right.
And so I tell people that you have to quit rehearsing the past, and you're going to have to start focusing on the future. And so that's where you start, you know, I'm a huge fan of sticky notes and putting things up and having what I call props around you, or triggers. And I think that people, when you find yourself slipping back, you should get some triggers to help you move forward. Also, it's a lot of time has a lot to do with the people you hang around.
I was just going to say,
You know,
social support
Social
has got
support.
to be a big part of
I
that.
mean, you can get a good buddy
Yep.
that just holds you accountable. Accountability is big, and you
Yep.
know that's what coaching's all about. Accountability.
I like what you're saying, because people do dwell. And if
Yeah.
you're not careful, you'll get around a lot of people who are dwelling too, and they're just kind of
Right.
stuck in that same
Yeah.
place.
That's true.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
advice. And if you guys want to get more information, you can visit Dr. Stacia's website at lifecoachtowomen.com. And we're going to have you stick around and play a game of yes, no with us. So what do you
Okay.
think?
All right,
You got
here's
the
your
cards.
card.
Tara's going to pass it out.
Alrighty.
So there's a new trend gaining ground when it comes to restaurant dining, okay? More and more restaurants are actually eliminating tips by taking that unusual step of paying their staff higher wages. You know, some waiters make like $2 an hour. Yet tipping not required or expected. Now those extra dollars instead get rolled into the menu prices. So servers tend to love it because it eliminates stingy diners and unreliable income, but patrons aren't always up for it because it takes the option away to tip more or less based on service. So I'm curious, would you like tip-free restaurants?
It's kind of the European way, you know? That's
don't
what
think
they
so.
do. Yeah,
Oh,
wow.
We all said no.
Why? Why, guys? What do you think?
I wouldn't like it because I like showing gratitude for a person who served me all day. I think that, you know.
Well, we're probably all good tippers.
Right,
So,
yeah.
Tippers.
we don't
I
have
used to be a server for
Yeah.
years in college, and a
Yes.
lot of times when they work in the tip already, I probably would have given you more, but since it's already there, you're just going to sign it and say goodbye.
Yeah.
So they're starting this in New York. We'll see if it spreads. Speaking of eating, America has become a country that has turned the typical lunch hour into errand or work time, and a rushed one at that. A recent survey found 48% of employees say their typical lunch break is 30 minutes or less. 19% don't take a break for lunch at all. Obviously, this adds to stress, unhealthy habits, which we're talking about today, lower morale. So what do you think, though? Should companies require a lunch break at work? This is an idea being thrown around.
Yeah, I think
I think I
so.
might like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're agreeing
I
today.
think you have to take a break. And I love what they're doing even in Japan, where they'll sometimes even bring pets in during a break. Did you know this? They'll bring like a dog in, run around, pet a dog. That helps people to stop thinking about what they've been doing for all those hours. You got to take a break.
And from a nutritional perspective,
Yes.
you know, I want people tend to eat at their desk. It's nasty in terms of germs. Let's just point that out. But you're not feeling like you actually got nourishment when you're so rushed. You're eating in your car when you're trying to run to the bank and do all these different things. So from a stress management perspective, I'm all for taking a break.
I keep
but
picturing
also
like a middle school, like the bell ringing and everybody having
catch
to
break.
Yeah,
go
right.
to lunch,
Yeah.
right? I don't know, and I think the problem is we have so much that we try to take on, which we just talked about.
Yep.
An entire hour for lunch, I would be stressing out. Like, I have stuff to do. I don't want to
Right,
stay
I don't
late
need
today.
an hour.
Yeah.
I
But
think a
30
half
minutes
hour.
is good,
Yeah.
But
right?
30 minutes
Yeah,
is
yeah,
good.
30
Yeah.
minutes is
And I
good.
think you're more creative when you come back from being outside, doing something
Yeah,
different.
taking a little walk.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us. You guys make sure you stick around because coming up on Emotional Mojo, we're going to show you how one woman who was paralyzed just weeks before her wedding is now thanking a college friend for giving her the gift of life. We will explain just what she did when we return. You're watching Emotional Mojo.